A couple of years ago, I don't know, maybe wasn't that long ago, Fred shared a story with me that he had found in a paper, and it stuck with me. It was kind of one of those stories that it's kind of like, God, if I ever get a chance, just that would be a nice thing to speak on. So anyway, maybe some of you have heard it. I know it's been around the internet and such, but the title of it is Two Babies Talk in the Womb and Perfectly Explain God. And have you heard that? Yeah. So anyway, but it's kind of based on faith, and how faith is a tricky thing, that to have confidence in something that we can't see or that we may not fully understand, but we believe and we have faith in it. And that's what we are here, is faithful followers and believers of Christ. And anyway, 2 Corinthians 5:7 says, for we live by faith, not by sight. So anyway, with that in mind, I'll kind of share this story with you. It says, in the mother's womb, there were two babies. One asked the other, do you believe in life after delivery? The other replied, of course, there has to be something after delivery. Maybe we're here to prepare ourselves for what we will be later. Nonsense, said the first. There's no life after delivery. What kind of life would that be? The second said, I don't know, but there will be more light than here. Maybe we will walk with our legs, or we can eat with our mouth. Maybe we'll have other senses that we don't quite understand now. The first replied, that's absurd. Walking's impossible, and eating with our mouths, ridiculous. The umbilical cord supplies nutrition and everything we need, but the umbilical cord is short. Life after delivery is to be logically excluded. The second insisted, well, I think there's something, and maybe it's different than it is here. Maybe we won't need the physical cord anymore. The first replied, nonsense. And moreover, if there is life, then why has no one ever come back from there? Delivery is the end of life. And in the after delivery, there is nothing but darkness and silence and oblivious. It takes us nowhere. Well, I don't know about that, said the second, but certainly we will meet Mother, and she will take care of us. The first replied, Mother? You actually believe in Mother? That's laughable. If Mother exists, then where is she now? The second said, she's all around us. We are surrounded by her. We are of her. It is in her that we live. Without her, this world would not and could not exist. Said the first, well, I don't see her, so it's only logical that she doesn't exist. To which the second replied, sometimes when you're in silence and you focus and you really listen, you can perceive her presence and you can hear her loving voice calling down from above. So living by faith, it's not always easy to trust what we can't see. It's a choice that we make. And thankfully, our Father, God, understands this struggle, and he loves us like a parent. With faith as small as a mustard seed, he will move mountains. And that's from Matthew 17:20. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. Romans 10:10. So I thought that was a great little story, and it just creates all kinds of parallels and things to contrast with the world we live in today. I mean, if you think about it, there's much more going on in the world than we can be aware of. Some of the things that we can learn from this story is that there is much more going on. There's a whole galaxy out there. There's universes and galaxies beyond measure, probably beyond number. I mean, we can't perceive all of that. We live in a very confined awareness. We only have a certain amount of information. We don't have all the information. Like the twins in the womb, we only have a little bit of information, but there's so much more beyond that. There's so many things going on in the womb for these babies that they don't know about, and there's a bigger force involved that they don't understand. Psalms 139, verse 13 says, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb." God is also weaving us together in preparation for the next life. Our lives right now, each one of us is uniquely different. We're special, every one of us. We're like snowflakes, and not the ones on the university campuses today, but we're individually unique in what we represent in this world. All the experiences that you have, that I have, no one else has them. I mean, the way that you have them, the way that I have them. And that's all goes to make up our individual lives. It makes us unique when it's viewed through the prism of God's big plan. Every one of us plays a role in a bigger life plan that God has in mind, and He has a purpose for each one of us. No one else can play the role that you do. Paul says we're supposed to work out our own salvation through fear and trembling, and allowing God to work within us. The other thing is we're here to prepare our lives for what will be next, what's coming later. The twins, for example, they're growing and transforming from the moment of conception into what they will become after they're born. The Bible tells us that our spirits are growing and transforming into what we will become when we step into eternal life. 1 John 3, verses 1 through 3, which Randall read earlier, see what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God, and that is what we are. I mean, we're children of God. The reason that the world does not know us is that it did not know Him. Dear friends, now we are children of God, and what we will be has not yet been made known. But we know that when Christ returns, we're going to be like Him, for we shall see Him as He is. And all of us who have this hope seek to purify ourselves just as He is pure. So that's one of the things that we are taught to do in preparation for our lives. So how you work out this with God is what I perceive Paul saying, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, because each one of us has to weigh all the elements in our lives, and as we move forward, how do we reflect Christ in the way that we go about communicating with each other. And to me, that's part of the preparation, is learning to reflect Christ. So we're told to go out and be like Christ. And the Bible is there to teach us how to do it. It's a step by step. We're being transformed in the image of Christ. 2 Corinthians 3:18 says, "And we all with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory and are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit." Romans 8:29, "For those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that we might be firstborn among many brothers and sisters." So I don't know if any of you have gone and tried to read instructions, like Christmas Eve, putting toys together or such. But if you look on this cartoon, I don't know if you can read it. The box says life, some assembly required. And the husband saying, "Phooey, why can't I get this thing together?" And the wife, "I love that she's in curlers. Arlene, I never see you in like this, but that's a good look." This has got to be from the 50s or 60s. But anyway, she's saying, "Why don't you try reading the instructions?" So that sounds familiar. So the thing that we're told to do is to trust in the Lord with all our heart and learn not on our own understanding and lean not on our own understanding, but in all our ways acknowledge him, and he will make our path straight. So I don't know about you, but learning to lean on the Lord, to trust the Lord, that's a daily challenge for me. I mean, I have to get up every day, and I'm not always good at it. You know, I would think I would be better after all these years, but you know, those moments when you really give it up and trust the Lord, that's when you really feel his power. And that's something that I strive to do. I mean, what we have is the Bible. We have all of the Old Testament with all the stories that are actually a reflection of our lives. You know, as I read these stories and I mature, I see myself in these personalities, in these characters, in these stories. You know, not always the good guy and not always the perfect one, but there's things to learn from it, and just taking the time to familiarize yourself with all of the information that's in the Bible. It's just such a blessing for those who are trying to follow Christ, who are living in this womb that we call Earth and the world, the universe that we live in. You know, to me, these stories are a bit like, you know, they're woven together in this tapestry that it's reflected in our lives, and we find insights that guide us through the different stages of our life. If you look at Psalm 2, 1 through 5, it says, "My son, if you accept my words and you store them up, my commands within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding, indeed, if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, and if you look for it as though you're looking for silver and search for it as though you're searching for hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God." So in other words, when we live our lives seeking God and we find ourselves in harmony with God's will, our lives all of a sudden make sense. So this thought of studying the Bible, not letting somebody else teach it to you, or me letting somebody teach it to me, that I go and I dig in there and I make sure I understand it from my point of view. That's when things begin to reveal themselves, and maybe you begin to show some of the light that's in you. The twins, they didn't have written instructions, but Um, I guess their instructions would be, how to keep the umbilical cord at a safe distance, or when to kick and when not to kick, things like that. But we have similar, we have instructions, we have stories, we have God's heart uh, revealed to us, so that we can dig and we can find and we can wrestle with the questions that we have, and find that path that's unique to us, that we're all eventually going to be like Christ. And we have Christ. The one twin said that nobody came back from the afterbirth, but we had Christ who came from heaven, which is kind of like the afterlife. And then he had disciples, and they taught us. He left the messages with them, and they taught us how to go about living this life, where to turn our attention, what to focus on. So that's something that I think we can take great joy in, that there is a source, that when our lives kind of get out of control or out of balance, that we have God to go to his word to go to make sense and to understand and make adjustments in our lives, so that we can find that peace within as we experience this process of transformation. One of the things that I got out of this little story that we read was made me think of the faith, hope, and love. And one twin had faith that there was something beyond the after delivery, and the other had his doubts. If you look at Hebrews 11:1, it says, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see." And again, one of the twins had hope that there would be light. Maybe we would use our legs, maybe eat with our mouths, and even things that we couldn't imagine. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who trust in the Lord and will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not grow faint." And then the final of the faith, hope, and love was one thing, that the twin felt love and felt the presence of its mother, while the other had doubts and did not believe. 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 13, it says, "If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I'm only a sounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have the faith that can move mountains but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over to the body to hardship that I may boast but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, and I thought like a child. I behaved like a child. For now we see only the reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, love. But the greatest of these is love. And that's from 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 13. So on a final note, Romans 8, 9, for the creation waits in eager anticipation, expectation for the children of God to be revealed. While we prepare for our eternity, let's learn from each other and encourage each other and support each other in our common faith in Jesus Christ. Right now, we share a common womb here in Oak Hill, and we share a common womb in the world. This is my image of some of Oak Hill members transforming into the next. If you look, you can see Randy in there, maybe Fred for sure, Savannah. You can kind of pick them out. There should be more. That was the biggest cluster of babies I could find. But if you think about the two babies in the womb and how they, eventually transformed into what they're being, that's what we're doing. We're going to be new spirits. We're going to be new spiritual babies. We're going to be like Christ. We're going to be, I can't even imagine how fantastic it's going to be. And I think, one of the things I think we have an opportunity to do is while we're in this Oak Hill womb, that we help each other, that we encourage each other, that we support each other in all our faith and hope and the struggles that we have, so that when Christ comes back, that he's pleased with the way that we treat each other. And he'll say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. That's what my hope is for each one of us. So if I had anything to say in addition to this, it would be to just take some time, and I'm like Randy says, saying this for myself, to be quiet, to listen, to that voice, to study God's word, to let his word kind of sink in and look for the treasure, for that gold, for that silver that's in there that will give us insights to allow us to move in this world in a way that he would have us to do. And when we do that, I think we'll find a peace and a completeness in the way that we go about our lives. So with that in mind, I appreciate your time and listening today, and I hope that you get something out of this. I pray that if I said anything that's not biblically sound, that it simply fall away from your ears and cause no harm. So, but if there's anybody here at this time that would like to share, have prayers, have requests that they want us to make known, we can stand now as we sing this song.